Hola, everyone. Ed is here. What's up, Ed? First time? I don't think I've seen you before. I'm just gonna wait for people to start coming in. What's going on, people? Let me know in the chat who's here. Who's here? Who's here? I got first. What do you mean you got first, Kai? Denise is here. Hi, Denise. Hey, Denise. How are you? Kim is here. Hello. Kai is here. All right, guys. So what are we going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about today? That's the question, isn't it? Joe Blow is here. What's up? So guys, give me some idea on what to talk about. I was listening to Jordan, and his explanation of Jehovah's Witnesses was very interesting. In what way? You know, Santos was a Jehovah too. Good morning, everyone. What's up, everyone? So guys, give me some. What's on your mind? What's on all your minds? I can't say more yet, but something wild will happen soon. Let's talk about that. I can't. All I can tell you is on my website, debunkmywork.com, there is a countdown to something happening. How it's tied back to the Vatican, the Jehovah's. Red October. I just saw that movie recently. Oh, Carrie. I just realized that's Carrie. Hi, Carrie. Red October. I don't know. You want to come back on and share some stuff? Carrie? You want to come back on and talk about that for a little bit? I won't keep you the whole time. If any of you want to come on, the link is in the chat. You want to come on and talk? Come on. So, guys, let's talk about this. Let's talk about I'm drawing a blank today for some strange reason. So many books that I want to read. Don't have time. Honestly, there's so much going down where to even start. Kai, I'll let you figure out where you want to start, but let's start with here, the Iron Dome. There is a rumor out there that the Iron Dome is fake. And I don't know one way or another. But I can tell you that it looks like it's real and it works. But all those Iran sending a bunch of bombs to Israel, they sent like 400 of them, and they didn't do anything. I think only one person died, and that person was a Palestinian. I don't know if the Iron Dome is real. All I know is that the Israeli army is dismantling all the terror cells. And look, whether you're pro-Israel or not is irrelevant. That doesn't change the fact that Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorists. That is the important thing. You could talk about Israel on your own. You could talk about Israel with other people. But at the end of the day, they are taking out threats to the world. Because you guys have to understand, these people want an Islamic rule. And they want a, what's the word for it? What's the word for it? Caliphate. I think that's what it's called. They want a caliphate. And they want everybody, just like the Islamic Revolution in 79 in Iran, turned these normal looking people into sheets. Sarah's here. Hi, Micah Harmony. Hi, Sarah. How's your husband doing? I talk to him sometimes too, I believe. Yes, Kai, exactly. I can, but I need a minute. All right, Carrie's going to come back on, guys. We'll have a little conversation. We'll see where this goes. Okay, I do know the U.S. has cheap-looking UFOs waiting. Looks like a deal. Let me ask you guys a question in the chat. Do you guys believe that we are encased here and we can't get out because there's a dome over us? What do you guys think? I was surprised to learn half of Lebanon is Christian. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the Jewish want the Noahide laws too, and that's just as bad as the Islamic crap. There's assholes in every group. Okay? Just because I denigrate one group doesn't mean that the side that's against them, I'm for. Okay? I'm just pointing out evil. Goddess, how are you today? It's good to see you. You're becoming a regular. I like seeing you. You have good questions. No, this is biblical fiction. Not truly, no. The Van Allen belt. There is. Yep. There is a Diana. You truly believe there's a dome? So where do these rockets go? If there was a dome, then it's obvious that the moon landing didn't happen, and that's something that they can't. But let me show you something. Hold on. All right. Oh, an invisible cover of some sort. I didn't say there was a dome. Okay. Okay. Guys, if I were to share with you some information right now, I would like to share with you that the bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. In a democracy, right? Or in democracy, we know that I don't know. Let's just move on. The moon landing did not happen, full stop, lol. The bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. When I'm talking about democracy, I'm talking about rule by people, in the sense that wait a minute. The Van Allen belt won't stop any rockets or anything from coming in or coming out. Islam was created by the Catholic Church as a scapegoat. Carrie's read my book. Yes, it is. Yes, it was. All you got to do is look up a guy named Alberto Rivera and read his story, or you can get my second book, The Sacred Stones, Into the Rabbit Hole of the Sacred Stones, where I explain this. Hey, it's all a big lie. Muhammad was a ginger. Okay, this goes back to, so the redheads, right? The redheaded mummies, the redheaded Muhammad, Genghis Khan, all this stuff that they've been lying to you about. The doctor is here. Hey, bro, what's up? Adam Starseed Bay, hello. Islam is bullshit, and I'm half Lebanese, okay? Islam is bullshit. They all are, but they're all encoded books. They're all encoded books, astrotheologically. That's what they are, and that's what I cover. Seeing what 31 days is, I'm seeing a lot from other YouTube videos. Yeah, I can't share that yet. And it has nothing to do with me keeping information from you. The reason I can't share it yet is because it is a thing that I am doing that if I talk about publicly, they might try and stop it. And I can't have that. Every one of them are BS to divide people. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, indeed. That's the case. So it's not that I'm keeping information from you guys. I'm just giving you guys a countdown. 31 days is election day, but something's going to happen on election day on my end. And I'm just not going to tell you what it is yet because I want it to happen. And I've put a lot of money and effort into this. The sun is the pupil on the right side. The moon is the pupil on the left side. We are inside God's head looking out. God is dreaming all of this. Well, that's an interesting sorcery de Marais. Interesting. So, Saussure de Marais. So, are you from Le Marais in France? Because my mother lives in Nice. Saussure, Sorcerer of Marais. So, if you're in France, that's awesome. And that's a really cool way of thinking about things. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I love new information. Give us a hint. All right, it'll be a marketing thing. All Saints Day is on 31 days from now. Election day, guys. So for you out there who still vote, I would like you guys to explain to me why you feel it's necessary to continue the charade. For those of you who are here, if you still vote, please let me know why, because I want to understand from your point of view. I don't vote. I don't play any part of this nonsense. Noise, don't vote. Secret Owl, I vote. Okay, Secret Owl, tell me why. No, I don't vote. It's BS. Good. No, Sorcery de Marais, Swamp Witch. In French. Huh. I thought you were a sorcerer from the town Limeray. You're in Louisiana, Cajun County? Okay. Well, I'd like to have you here. You seem like an interesting person. How did you find me in my work? I would like to know that. Sorcerer. Sorceress? Whatever. Anyway, guys, so don't vote. Don't vote. Don't play into this. The only people who can complain about things are people who didn't vote. Because if you vote, you're playing in this charade. And it's all bullshit. Swamp Witch in French. So, Sorcerer, do you speak French? Because I do. Are you French? Anyway. What's on your mind, guys? Cajun Girls Rock. The Doctor. All right. I know you guys have some good food down there. Hey, Sorcerer, did you see that there's another tropical storm forming? And it looks like it's gonna go through the Gulf of Mexico and possibly hit. Maybe your area, maybe. Do you guys have because you guys get hit a lot. I've dug into this stuff long enough. You were in suggestions one day and I clicked, oh, okay. Cajun food rocks, Sarah. Yes. So, Sorcerer, do you do anything for Mardi Gras? I removed myself from that a few years ago. Your thoughts on the port going from U.S. ports back to the American domestic ports? So I read yesterday that they're not shutting down. That they have decided to keep it going until January. Considering the problems we're having in this country with the weather, with the hurricanes. Never had a hurricane like this. Never, ever hit where it hit in the way that it hit. And it just kind of came up out of nowhere on the radar 3 days before. So is this weather modification or is this climate change, guys? I've watched you off and on the years. First time I caught a live stream, and no, me is not French. My in-laws are Acadian. Okay. All right, Sorcerer. All right. The difference between Harris and Trump could mean the difference between nuclear war with Russia, for example. That's a plain fact. Yeah. I've been very clear about this. I don't vote, but I think that Trump pisses off all the right people. So I find him entertaining. I think he's the best stand-up comedian on the planet right now. I find him entertaining. Do I think he's going to be the best president? No, but no one ever is. They're always looking for a savior to fill all the boxes, and they don't. Um, I think it's weather, climate. We are not to blame. Okay, you don't have to like Trump. I started following you years ago when I saw you on the project, the Oracle of Rex. Oh yes, he does. He has a mouth. Yes, Trump does. Not very presidential at all, right? Hopefully, tribunals made public. See, that's another thing that they have in the conspiracy theory world, guys, that I have noticed. Um, ugh, they always post, or the conspiracies, the deep conspiracy people post military tribunals of people that were executed, and they think that they've somehow got a stunt double for these people. And we know for a fact that they do have stunt doubles with the president. We've seen the dude on camera. We know that there's stunt doubles for president. You don't know how much of this stuff is act and how much of this stuff is in front of a green screen. He is a populist, so he is very controllable by the voter. They're not letting anyone in unless they want them in, and they're going to do what they say. Well, I'll tell you this much right now. My girl was telling me about some TikToks that she saw yesterday, and these Appalachian people are just throwing supplies on donkeys, and they're making their way down. And, you know, FEMA tries to confiscate everything that they have, and they don't let people in, and they basically told them to go fuck themselves, and they walked right past FEMA, and they're going. The government is not here to save you. Look at the school shootings. Look at the school shootings. The police are not there to help. They can't do anything. They're useless. And the police are not there to help you guys. They're there to enforce the law. Never talk to a cop when he asks you questions, especially if you're arrested. Don't say anything because they're out to get you. So people are getting in, but they have to fight. The government is not here to help you. They gave everyone $750 from this tragedy, right? And they give 200 billion to Ukraine, and FEMA says they're empty because they have been spending all this on migrants. And the government doesn't like you. The government doesn't want you. They think you're useless eaters. That's the word they call you. You're a useless eater. That's what they say in the World Economic Forum. You're a useless eater. It's all about the division. Still having to choose sides, keep the division going. Red, blue, Republican, Democrat. When is it just going to be about doing the right thing? When we have the reset, which we're all trying to fight for, if you're on the side of good and evil, because that's all there really is on this earth. The hurricane is weather modification. Okay, and I've seen evidence of that too. No, honey, I'm talking about the presidents, okay? Cloning has been going on for years, yeah. Do you guys remember? Let me show you something. Come on. Sorry, guys, this takes a minute. So we're talking about cloning for a minute, right? So you guys see this right now? This was Kanye's tweet that he got removed from social media for. Yay, 24. Love everyone. Now at the bottom, you'll see a Star of David with a swastika in it. And people freaked out because they don't know their symbols about the swastika part. And they called him an anti-Semite, even though he says a lot of that stuff. But check this out. That symbol that you're looking at right now is the symbol of a group, or a cult actually, called the Raelians. And I'm not going to go into what they believe in. It has to do with the Elohim coming down and talking to Rael, who used to be in France as I believe he was a race car driver. And he created this sect. Anyway, the Raelians own a company called Clonade in Canada. And the company Clonade in Canada is the company that at first said that they cloned a baby, but wouldn't let anyone see it. So Kanye here, they're thinking this is anti-Jewish. It's not. He's just exposing the Raelian cult. This is how he's doing it. So that's important to know, because he's not a stupid man. In truth, we are below cattle to them. Yup. I like Robert Kennedy Jr. I like the stuff he's talking about too, but I never put my faith in politicians ever. That's true about the police. We know our magnetic field is weakening. Our universe is electric. Same with hurricanes. We are in solar maximum, peak over Eager cycle, and something with the Ross McPherson effect. Pardon spelling. I'm not sure what that is, but if you want to elaborate, please go ahead. Goddess, Micah, what's up? I don't know, like if someone could actually do anything with the corrupt system we have in the USA, even though it's a global cabal. Exposure, disclosure, that helps. I swear down, it's like you're the friend in my... Can you elaborate, Goddess? Thank you. If you could live anywhere, where would you live and why? I have a best friend who tells me all the time that he's sick of the way the world is going. And if he ever makes a lot of money, he's going to buy Epstein Island and just live on it because he knows no one will bother him. And to be honest with you, I'm not at that stage of hatred for humanity yet. Where would I live? I'm happy where I am. I left New York. I spent 38 years there, 2 years in Boston, and I'm in Florida now. And I am very happy. I am very happy. My world is looking great. I still deal with problems like everybody does, though. But my world is great. So I'm happy where I am. Robert Kennedy is awesome. I like him too. Yes, the police are just keeping policies, definitely not working for us or helping us. Well, let me share something with you guys. Did you know that New York City police do not pay for car insurance because their vehicles are high speed, they're highly dangerous, chases and all that kind of stuff. So it's expensive to insure these police cars. But what they've done is something that I think other places are doing too. What they've done, the police, is, and I know this from an insider too, they don't have car insurance, but they have like 10 lawyers that they keep on retainer. So that if there's ever an accident, you don't want to get in an accident with a cop. You'd rather hit someone head on than get into an accident with a cop. The cops, they're not there to help. And they don't have insurance either. They just have a team of lawyers that will sue the hell out of you if you try and do something about it. Now, think about that from a financial point of view. It is millions and millions of dollars cheaper to just keep these 10 lawyers on retainer. And I don't even know if it's 10, but they have lawyers that basically sue people. And they use that to bully you instead of them paying for insurance. There has been lithium and quartz found there. It's a land grab with population reduction. That's what it is in one sentence. Yep. So the question is, not only can we modify the weather, but can we control the path of a hurricane? Is that even possible? Make America healthy again. Expose big pharma. Food supply making our children sick. Go to Europe and eat whatever you want, and you'll find that when you come home, you'll have lost weight because they don't allow you to put the kind of shit that our FDA allows you to put in food. Everything they do is to take away your sovereignty and to make you sick so that you can pay a doctor for the rest of your life. Healthy people don't make money for people. Because you know what? If you're healthy, if you're lucky enough to get to like 40 without a major, like a cancer or a tumor or something of that nature, then if you're healthy enough for that, then you can work and pay taxes. The system is the education system is set up so that you know how to take direction and dictation. That's what it is. It just teaches you how to be a functioning member in the working society. Because that's all they care about, that tax money. Governments want to pit mine it. Yep. You guys remember the Clive and Bundy story? The standoff against eminent domain that they actually won against the government? Do you see how when people stand up against things, the government pushes harder, and then if you don't budge, they fold? Do you see that's how it works? Vote or not vote, either way, what are we to do besides help each other when we can have a better world? But it's all probably simulation and just BS. Anyway, fuck it. Just help each other, share knowledge, share information. That's all you can do. Yeah, that's my field of research, heliobiology. Well, what kind of stuff do you work with, Secret Owl? Methinks if the fake black lady gets elected, then this would be the catalyst for states to break away from the union. That would be nice. Remember, the Soviet Union fell. There's no reason the United States can't. People say all kinds of stuff, but with very little actual proof that can be verified. I'm talking about all of it too. Be a little more specific, AI. A1. AI? A1. A1. Be a little more specific, please. Check out Spherical Capacitor discharge. Earth is in discharge. Discharge would be beyond devastating. The illusion of security, guys. A million things can kill you at all times. That's what basically survival is. Ryan is here. Hello, sir. Almost no winning against law enforcement. Exactly. Remember the Amadou Douali, whatever his name was, who was in a police station in New York, and they shoved a broom up his ass? Do you remember that? Those people make money from the police, not anyone else. I was saying to one of my friends that if I get stopped by the police while driving or whenever, I will tell them I don't answer questions. So what's next? And say nothing else? They'll make you step out of the car, do a sobriety test. They'll do all this stuff to try to get you. But again, they'll put pressure on you. And you just keep to it. And they'll back down. Purity laws in Europe. Yes, misfits. True knowledge is power. All right, here we go. Dutch cynics on YouTube showed how they use radio tower frequencies to draw tornadoes and storms. He had images of radio towers being used to control and direct tornadoes. We also know that Nikola Tesla had an earthquake machine that he destroyed, hopefully, that would make earthquakes. And he actually used it in New York City, and it caused an earthquake. I actually talk about it in my 8th book. How space weather, as people call it, affects us and triggers medical episodes. Tested over 3,000 medical episodes. That's very interesting. Carrie's here. Hello. You there, girl?
I'm here. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
I had to go in the car because there was too much background noise in the house.
So what do you got for us today?
Well, first off, comment. I'd love to talk about the voting.
Sure.
You guys are into that. I know for some of us are just waking up to kind of what's going on. And, again, we're all at different involvement levels and things like that. So I totally respect where everybody's at. And I just say, keep going on your journey and you'll figure it out when it's your time. And I don't really necessarily know about like hyper local, but I do know quite a bit about on the higher levels. So I was involved in a relationship for 8 years where I dated a politician who moved up to the state level. I have a lot of stories. I have a very interesting life. And this was just my boyfriend, but I learned quite a lot about how our system works and what is possible, and meaning what is possible legally for people like you and me to be considered actual voters. So first off, I want to encourage everybody to actually go in and read the voter registration, what you're actually signing up for. And then I want you to connect that to your driver's license. Those two are connected. So that's a little homework for everybody. That you might be surprised at what you're actually signing up for. Number one. Number two, none of us can actually vote for the president. None. That is the job of the Electoral College. The person that I dated was a delegate. And so I know all about how that system works. And I even asked him at one point, let's say all of your constituents decided that they wanted you to vote for a particular candidate. The reason let me back up a little bit. The reason this conversation came about was because he and I disagreed on presidents. Okay, so we've been dating a long time. I'm helping him out with all of his campaigns, and we completely disagreed on president. So I thought this was very interesting. So I said, what if all of your constituents wanted you to go in the voting booth? Because remember, they're supposed to be voting for who their constituents want them to vote for.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's the illusion that is painted. And he directly said to me, God is my witness. He said, when I go behind that curtain and I go in that booth and I pull that curtain behind me, I'll vote for whoever I feel is best for me. Meaning, complete disregard for if the party or the constituents wanted him to vote for whoever he wanted to vote for. So that was kind of my first little wake up.
The power rush is too strong for many people to
and
step
much
aside
like
from.
Yes, and much like the music industry, a pattern that I noticed was they tend to pull in a lot of people who are in what I call the attaboy club. So if you're doing well and you're, kind of getting pats on the back from the politicians or the people that are running the parties, then you will be invited into more groups, more social groups, more real estate groups. I started calling him King Midas. I'm like, wow, it's amazing how you can invest $20,000 in real estate.
Was it you that told me? Was it you that told me on the that at the top levels of companies like BlackRock and Vanguard and all those, that they don't trade in money, they trade in debt?
Yeah, everything's so. I'll get to this part with the voting because this is actually all tied together.
Okay.
So with the voting, basically, you cannot vote for the president. It is. Remember, the United States is a corporation. There's many laws that say that. You can look it up for yourself. I can actually cite them. I'm in the car, so I'd love to look them up for you on my computer. I apologize, but there are laws. Mm-hmm. If you're unfamiliar with the fact that the United States is a corporation, which Mike has talked about many times, so hopefully you've heard this before. That corporation runs exactly, and Micah has said it before, there's a president, there's a secretary, right? The offices are all the same as a corporation. The United
President, vice president, secretary, treasurer, everything.
Now, let me ask you a question. Can you vote for the president of, say, McDonald's?
No.
Can we vote for the president of, say, a bank?
No.
You might be able to if you're a what?
Shareholder.
Investor. Shareholder. Exactly. So that's where this comes into play. So if you are investing as a shareholder in the United States and you have taken over your securities accounts, Code of Federal Regulations 363.6, the definition of minor. You are a minor until you have taken control of all of your securities. The securities are how they are. Everything is traded. You are a security. Everything is a security. Every time a signature goes on it, becomes a security. So if you do not have control of your securities accounts, now just stop there. What does that even mean? Do you have control of your securities accounts? The answer for 98% of the majority of Americans is no, because they don't even know what that is. Some may, if you have your Series 7 or Series 9, you understand what that means. We are supposed to be controlling all of those accounts, right? And we are not. So therefore, you are not a shareholder. You cannot be a shareholder until you have, it's kind of like an accredited investor. So an accredited investor means you've invested over $250,000 or you have $250,000 to invest in something. So what these guys do, from my perspective, is they get each other in these groups. And if you're in the attaboy club and you're doing well and you're kind of following what the party that you're involved with wants you to, by the way, they do ask people to party hop all the time. So this was very shocking to me as a young woman. I was in my 20s, and to hear that they were asking people to party hop kind of blew me away. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I would never party hop. I'm thinking, why would they do that? And they would tell them, well, you have no chance of winning, and at least we get your ideas into office under this party. So in other words, it's like pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, because some people go in there, as we all know, just voting strictly one party or another, right? And
Hmm.
if you don't know that behind the scenes, let's take Mitt Romney for an example, okay? Because everybody knows his story, and he was a Democrat, and he was basically asked to run for Republican Party. So it's similar to that. So basically, it's like you're getting one person, and you think you're getting another, and this
These
happened.
people will also sell their asshole for votes. I
They
mean,
will.
these people, to get into politics, guys. Remember, you see what politics is you're basically trashing the other person like it was a high school fight. Is what you're doing the entire time, and you're hoping that you get the last punch in before election time. And that's basically what politics is. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting thing to want to be president, to want to be a ruler like that. Even though we know the president doesn't really do anything except just be the faceplant of the unelected bureaucrats, but it's just crazy. So, all right, I'll let you continue to tie it in.
Yeah. So where were we when I left off? Basically, the electoral college are the shareholders. They're the accredited investors. So what they do is they try to get everybody into, from, again, this is my perspective of how this worked, and again, seeing this in my 20s. They see, that, how can I say this, a lot of the people that I noticed that were young getting into politics, like, they love that limelight. They
Yeah,
loved it. My boyfriend, all about it at the time. He loved to be in that crowd, in that room. Babe, I gotta go. The White House is on the other line. Like, this is no joke. We were actually at one of the presidential inaugurations. So there's this thing that comes with it, right? Like, this ego. It kind of feeds the ego, and then when you get in with these circles, suddenly you go from, like, when these politicians come out and say that they have made all this money, I see how they do it, because they get in these circles, and then you're introduced to the people in the club, and then you're introduced to people in real estate and people who are investors and whatnot. So basically you start making money a lot quicker than you would as a normal, Joe Schmo American. I would joke, like I said, about King Midas. That's where I was at. I started calling him King
yeah.
Midas because I was like, I want to invest $10,000 and get 100 back. It's like an ATM. Like, who wouldn't do these deals? And it started to kind of make me go, wait a minute, how are you finding these kind of deals, and what's going on here? So this is part of my politics awakening experience, but I did learn so much about why we can't actually vote, why our vote doesn't count. So you can vote. I mean, there's no, like, again, read what you're signing up for. This is the thing, we do not read. That is why I think we're in a lot of this mess, is because we started out right with common law, which was common sense for the common man. That's why they're the commonwealth. We are the commonwealth because our signatures create those securities, right? And those securities get invested back into the United States in the forms of, bonds and what have you. Everybody can do it on Treasury Direct. I've said this before, and this is why I started studying securities. There's so much that we do not know about how this system really operates. And just to give you one tidbit, why I got in looking at these securities is, one, when I found this is all like a stepping stone for me, right? I found out that we can't necessarily vote because of the securities issue. Well, then what is this securities thing? How do I take over my securities accounts? And this just led me down this Treasury Direct rabbit hole. So essentially, we are supposed to be putting, and I've said this before, is where I'm at now, we're supposed to be putting all of our paychecks into the Treasury Direct. The Treasury, and there, you go on there and you'll see where you can deposit your paycheck. And then if you have it set up correctly, especially under trusts, you can actually take that credit. They're going to give you the positive equity credit. So if you put, let's say you put, a $2,000 check in there, you get $2,000 back in credit. And as that accumulates, brokers will start coming at you to trade this for you. And this is where your compound interest trading lives. So all of us that understand what compound interest trading is, but we don't know how to get into it because no bank offers this to the common person. And literally, I meant that in the legal sense. Then when you start learning that how you can do it yourself and how you can start taking over these securities, it's fascinating. And you start understanding why these people have unlimited wealth. And that's when I was told, yes, we don't use money.
So can you confirm for everybody, can you confirm for everybody that your birth certificate is traded on the stock market?
Yeah, it's traded on. So as far as my research goes as to where exactly everything's traded, so there's two markets that are like major. The New York Stock Exchange, which everybody knows, right? You know those public markets, but what you don't know is the government market is actually the largest market in the world. And so they're traded on those government markets. And essentially your birth certificate, as far as I could initially find, and now, of course, now that people have known and this information is out there on the internet, it's much harder to find, but it's a platform called GMEI platform. It stands for Government Market Entity. Oh, I forget what the I is. Government Market Entity. I forget what the EI. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, this is something I found years ago. So the GMAI utility, we are a utility. You are a transmitting utility to them. So, and think about what utility is: electricity, water. Okay, so you're a transmitting utility to them. So when you go on GMEI utility platform, it's kind of like you can't really see all the information you could 10 years ago. But I believe you can still go in, because I went in a couple years ago, and you can still look at the FAQ section, and it will tell you, like, if you're a natural person and you want to be removed from this, and etc. So the information is there. It's just vague. You don't really know what you're looking at unless you know this stuff. Mm-hmm. So again, this is kind of how it all circles back to voting, because if you understand that the trading is linked to becoming an accredited investor, which is becoming these shareholders, which leads back to the corporation of the United States, then you'll understand why you can't vote for the president. It's just like I can't vote for the president of McDonald's because I'm not a shareholder. I'm not a certain level of shareholder. Now, we can vote for things that we are shareholders of. For example, if you have a 401k, I'm sure you get in the mail your investment, and your prospectus. Pardon me. Prospectuses have a lot of information in them. If you guys start reading your prospectuses for different companies that you do business with, it's super important that you're reading these contracts. Like, we just sign them and get the credit card, and you have no idea what you're agreeing to. You don't even know, because you didn't read, that you are giving up the fact that you can take 80% of the interest. Did you know that? Most people don't, because we don't read. So we're giving up these rights that we have by our signature. And that signature is your sign in nature, that transmitting utility that generates money, which isn't really money, right? It's credit. So these billionaires and millionaires operate off of this credit because they know how the system works. And that's why you see politicians go in broke and come out with all this money, because people start educating them. You're in the club then.
Right. Do they also get, like, Nancy Pelosi, for example, like with her inside trading and all that stuff? How is there no law against that yet? Because it doesn't serve their interest.
Nobody knows about it. So how can you really follow up on it? For example, I don't even know when this was, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was before COVID, I think. Somebody sent me in my email a clip about my ex-boyfriend in the newspaper who was doing real estate deals with the head of the Jacksonville Electric Authority. And I was like, wow, because you're not allowed to do it. But if somebody finds out, then you can get in trouble. But I think they kind of just bank on the fact of our ignorance, and we don't know what we're doing and talking about it, and even a basic.
That's why presidential slogans are like 3 or 4 words, by the way, is because it can get a big group of dumb people to repeat something over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's far deeper than we realize. We're waking up to it. I that's why I love this, and thank you for letting me come on. And I love to just share just little tidbits of information. And again, I don't care whether you vote or not. You're you do you. But I'm just encouraging you to read, if you do vote, who are the electoral college, what, educate ourselves. I literally had kind of like one of the, back in Facebook day, used to have like Facebook arguments with friends. Like I posted something about the electoral college, and this guy just kind of went off on me, and he's a friend of mine. Well, was is was but we had this argument, and I was so glad one of my friends, Deb, she came to my rescue in this argument, because she actually was a state committee woman, and she came to my rescue, and she said, Carrie's absolutely 100% correct on this. I was a state committee woman in the state of Florida. You're not voting. Like, wake up, read a little bit. You cannot. And that's, when I found out all this stuff was going on, yes, I do not vote. Now, whether it goes on super small towns and things like, I can't tell you. I only know what I saw from basically the county level up. I think how can I say this? The incubation grounds are the low level, like city council and different boards, school boards, things like this. I think they see the potential in people and kind of recruit, if you will, from there, and kind of help incubate and bring those people up. And I really, I believed in the person that I was dating. He was very humanitarian, much like I was, involved in like Habitat for Humanity and all these things. I mean, his resume was ridiculous with that stuff, and I was very like impressed as a young woman with that, because he was an engineer, very smart, and I, wanted a very smart person, very humanitarian person, and I was like, wow, this guy really, he gets it. As soon as
You
he
looked
had the
for a
politics,
smart humanitarian person and you ended up with a politician.
well, he was a humanitarian turned politician. I think, like most people, you think we can make a change, make a difference, right?
I
You
think
really
people are
do.
attracted to the idea that people think that their ideas are the best, and people want to put their ideas forefront for other people to follow, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And people just,
yeah.
the allure of being in Congress or something, because now you have a spotlight on you and you're famous, and you have a chance to really change things in this, but then you get talked to by like
Yeah,
APAC and all the other companies out there, right? That have
right.
it's a big game. It's a big game.
Yeah,
Um,
I think just like anybody, there are people who are, very introverted and don't want that spotlight, but then there's people who do. And I think initially, I really believe he did not go into it for that. He was wanting to make a change and upset about things that were happening in his community, and I was very supportive of that. In fact, through the first like 3 of his campaigns, I watched this very vibrant, very intelligent, blooming person go from that to depressed and, angry all the time, like, just very, very different. And
right.
that's kind of when I started going, okay, like, what's happening here? And this is, 8 years later, right? Like, we're talking about spending the rest of our lives together, and we both were very busy. I was traveling on the road, so our relationship was a little slower in motion than most. And we finally were deciding, like, okay, and honestly, this election, and then there's more that happened, I honestly don't know if I should speak about it, because I don't know if, like, that could have repercussions on me, but I will say this: I experienced people getting put into offices with basically zero campaigning, and that's when I was out. So I learned at that moment that whoever they want in will be in, and I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't. I'm like, this is a dog and pony show. And I started seeing it at different events where I'm just the girlfriend, right? I'm in the background. I'm talkative, but I don't talk a lot at these, because this isn't really my people. And these are all, like, I grew up super poor. These are all extremely wealthy people. There's fundraisers going on, and these dinners and these parties and events and things. And I'm not really part of this club, right? Like, I know my, like, at this point in my life, I know my place in the world. I'm like, I'm this young girl, grew up poor, and just kind of happened to fall into this party, right? Like it's kind of
Right.
a Cinderella story for me. But then I started seeing things, and I just observed. I literally just became kind of this silent observer, and what I saw was just like so disheartening in the fact that not only the people were just so plastic to me, just they would come up and give hugs. Oh my gosh, so good to see you. How's your wife? I gotta tell you, we gotta get together because of this, that. And 2 minutes later I'd be in the bathroom, and they'd be like, honey, I cannot stand him. I just, every time I see him, I'm like, wow, like 2 minutes ago I
Right.
would just like, I just would be, I don't know, I was so blown away. And the way people were, it was so like sticky sweet gross to me. I was like, this is not for me. So I did not participate in any more campaigns after that. That was the final straw. And I had worked on my first campaign when I was a little girl, believe it or not. I was in like 7th grade, 14 years old. My best friend in junior high school, her dad ran for city council, and that was my first campaign. And I always tried to volunteer on campaigns and kind of learn, what I could. Not that I ever really had the desire to run, but it's, and I definitely wouldn't, because I know what's happening. Unless the system entirely crumbled, changed, and they actually needed people in there that knew what was going on with the money and the finances and the trusts and the covering of all of that.
So I want to
Every
I want to answer. I want to bring in a couple comments from the chat room.
Please do. Actually, I'll switch over to comments so I can see
The
too.
hubby read that they have had a $90 million contract already signed before this hurricane with regard to the lithium in the courts. Totally
That's
makes sense.
accurate. That's accurate. I
BlackRock
looked it
did.
up.
That's true. That's
Yes.
true. BlackRock absolutely do that.
Although at the same point,
Don't
what
fight the police in the stop. You've got to fight them in court. Oh, that is wrong.
Yeah, the court is so just a little, it was funny, a friend of mine literally just called me the other day, and he came down to a court in Florida, and he said, "Oh my gosh, Carrie, you were so right. Everything you said about maritime law." He said, "I walked into the court, I pushed the little thing open." He said, "The carpet literally looks like sand. And you push the little gate open to go into the court area." And he said, and I kid you not, guess what color the tile was? And of course I said blue. And he said, yes, you're literally going onto the water. You're moving yourself onto the water. So for those of you guys that don't know, the courts are maritime law. Go in and look at, go in and Google, hopefully it's still there, aerial view, like a top down view of the courthouse of Miami, the federal courthouse. It looks like a giant ship. Like they're not hiding it from you. It's all maritime law. So maritime law is law of the sea. And then you start getting on the wordplay. That's how I kind of found Micah through Santos Bonacci for the wordplay. The sea, the holy sea. But the sea, it's all a sea of energy. Everything's energy around us, as we know. So that energy is you, right? You're that energy. Oh wait, shoot, I forgot where I was going with this because we talked on 2 different topics. Oh, the maritime courts. Yes. So I wanted to touch base on the person that spoke about the contract though too, because I learned something interesting when I was looking that up. So don't let me forget. But yes, all the courts are maritime. So basically you're going in there as a legal entity, not as a human being. So make sure you're aware of that. That's kind of the road how Micah and I and Priscilla and oh my gosh, I'm gonna draw a blank on her name.
Roxy.
Roxy, thank you. We all kind of got together because we all know these facts. We study them. I want to say religiously, but I don't like that word anymore. But yes, we all study that the maritime law and what's happening, and that is a lot of factor, I think, of what's going on with the shipping ports. Everything is trafficking, y'all. Everything is traffic. Like even on your postage, that when you go to get a certified mail, and if you look at it, there's little lines like a road on it, like the dotted lines, they look like a road. Everything is about shipping, ports. It's all shipping, because everything is merchantry, which mer is the sea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything is the sea. It's all connected. Merchantry is the commerce. All of that is related back to shipping, and it goes all the way back to the East West India Company,
Mm-hmm.
which were basically the bullies of the world in commerce. If you didn't do business the way they wanted, they would destroy your town or your country. So that's kind of on the lithium contract. I'm so curious because initially my thought was, and this is just my brain, how it works. Initially I was thinking, like, are they trying to flood out tunnels, underground tunnels, because all of the trafficking stuff is coming out, the sex trafficking? Are they trying to cover up the tunnels? That was kind of my first thought, because I do know that, like we were talking about, there's those tunnels under the Biltmore and everything in Asheville. So my thought was, okay, if they're doing these lithium mines, there's already mines there. Now this little mud flood has covered up the entrances to a lot of these, from what I'm understanding. So I'm trying to piece that part together with the BlackRock, the contract. And by the way, guess where they got the money? It was a $90 million grant. No money for FEMA, but we have a $90 million grant for lithium.
Well, that's because they want to push everyone towards EVs.
Yes. Yeah, they do, because those cars, oh my gosh, they read everything about you. They know absolutely everything about you. Any new car, well, they always have something in it called an EDR, which is an event data recorder. That's been in there for probably 15, 20 years. So, you know, if you try to speed down a street and you hit someone and you say, well, I was only going 25, they can pull that EDR out of your car by subpoena and find out that you weren't. But there is a dongle that is in every new car that tracks everywhere you go and everything you do. You can ask for the dongle to be removed. You can actually ask that to be written out of a new car contract. But that vehicle reads everything. And when you connect your phone, now it reads everything from your phone. So all of that data is going back to the automotive manufacturers. So just a heads up there.
That's aggravating.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because they're saying, like, these new cars, if you miss your car payment, right, what can happen? They can see exactly where your car is at and come get it. So even, that was the whole point of it. But what they don't know, like the people, and why I study these securities, is you can actually hold them to that, because possession is 9/10 of the law. And what did they give you, right? They didn't give you money for the loan. They were the middleman in the paperwork, basically. To oversimplify it. So a lot of these people now
FEMA burnt through $640 million, and now they're broke. And are they just going to write them another check? Like, how does this work?
Exactly. They're gonna, try to securitize things. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you're gonna see, like, interest rates are dropping, and to get you to sign those loans, because they know they can make money off of you, from those loans and everything. And that's what they do. They securitize you. So everything you have your signature on, okay, according to the Truth in Lending Act, everything.
Did you hear the story about the guy that rewrote a credit card contract saying that he never has to pay interest, and then he sent it into them and they processed it because they didn't read it?
Yeah, they don't read it because they don't think you'll know. But you can actually send a letter into, and this takes a bit of study. Don't just send it off not knowing what you're doing. You can send the letter into this, either the CFO or the indentured trustee, and let them know that you're rescinding all of their rights to hold all of your interest. You're supposed to be making that interest too, because it's being made off of you. There's a couple interesting people to follow. If you guys want, I'll drop those people in the chat. My handle on there is Neighborhood Solutions on there. So I was in the chat a little bit earlier. But anyway, there's some people you can follow to kind of learn this stuff. But you can get a forensic audit done. It's going to cost you. Okay, it's going to cost you. But you can, if you want to drop, if you have, this is the way I look at it. How much is your car payment, and what are you going to pay over the remainder of the life of your loan? Take that
We
number
love,
first.
look,
Oh, thank you.
this one is wild. Look at this one. I was a delegate and the DNC kicked me out because they didn't like who I represented in my area. My case went to the Supreme Court. You can look it up.
We need to talk because we have probably some stories, but I don't, I want to be alive, so I don't talk about it too much. Yeah, listen,
Don
if
Fowler.
like I said, if you're not in the club, right? They'll, yeah.
That's what he says. Don Fowler declared the DNC a private club. This is how they won. I mean,
Most of them
what
are private clubs. They're
can I ask
private
you a
membership
question? Like,
associations.
in what planet do candidates not have to go through basically the interview process like a regular job with the to let them pick the best one? They just dumped Biden and said Kamala. Is that even, can they even do that?
No, not really. But they do. They know you don't know, and you're not going to challenge it. And the thing is, even when you are voting, let's say it's hyper local, first of all, review what is the job description for that person. Don't just listen to their debate. I mean, this would blow me away and be like, oh, my friends be like, oh, I listened to their debate. I really liked what so-and-so had to say. That's all fine and great because listen, salespeople talk better than introverts all day long, but the introvert might actually be the one that has those skill sets to do that job. Mm-hmm. And this is a business. So what are the job descriptions of that job that they are going for in your city council or in your school board or whatever, and then see if that person's resume matches up to that job description. If you're going to hire them, wouldn't you do that as a business owner?
Right.
And essentially you kind of you're the one, stating that they can hold this office and that they're qualified and you're voting for them. Half the people don't even think of that. And it blows my mind. Like, what do you mean you listened to a debate and you liked what he had to say? I can I can have a great night one night speaking, and I can have a terrible night. And I said, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that. And then now people are going to vote for me based on what I said, not what I can do and what my skill sets are and what my experience is on these particular things.
Right. So here's the court case. This is the court case from Sacred Owl. If you want to.
Nice. Hold on. Sorry, I'm screenshotting that. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Secret Owl.
Yeah, I would love your thoughts on that court case. If you want to read that court case and then come back on in a little while and do it, that's fine.
Let's see what absolutely.
Look at this. Loving this. Could listen to Carrie talk all day.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. I'm just a normal Joe Schmo out here, but I see things are wrong, and I just have a heart for breaking it down and what is happening here, and then trying to put it into simple language so that people can understand and see what is happening. And
look at this. R.I.P. John Harris. He was one of the first people to bring out this in the 90s, the straw man.
And I don't know, I've never even, believe it or not, as many people as I have heard and listened to, I've never heard of John Harris. But there are people in the 90s. I know there's this one guy, he goes by Savings to Suitors. He had this underground forum called Savings to Suitors Club. And essentially in that club, they would talk about all this stuff. And I got in and it was so far over my head because I didn't come into this part of the knowledge. Mm-hmm. I would say probably around the time of those elections. So that was early 2000s.
Do me a favor, Carrie, before I forget, I don't know who's watching. So can you just explain what a straw man is? Because we hear Alex Jones call people it all the time.
So they call it your straw man. I'm gonna go with the funny route first. Think of the Wizard of Oz. Okay, this is the Wizard of Oz. What do you need? What did the lion need? Well, what did you need to get home? A heart, a courage, and a brain. Okay. And what was the straw man lacking? What was he lacking?
Straw man? He was do I remember this? Let's see. The lion was the heart. No, the lion was the courage. The Tin Man
Yep.
was the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
If I only had a brain.
yeah.
Okay, so again, this comes back to the mental, government, mente in Latin is the mind. Okay, so it's the mind, the control of the mind. They created basically a paper version of you. So you have a legal person and you have
Because
a
when you get all
real
your
person.
bills, you get your social security card and all that, and they're all in capital letters, that's your straw man.
Yes. So you have a paper version of you and a natural person of you. And the more you read, like if you look into law, you will start to see the natural person. It'll say that natural man or woman or legal person. So you have two. So when you go to court, you're actually walking in as a legal person, not as a natural. And if you start sending letters to the judge as the natural before you even get there so they understand your court case, I'm not saying you would win or anything like that because people still struggle with it. But what it will do is you will allow the judge to know that you know what the game is, right? You know the difference. Most people do not know the difference, and that's why we get taken advantage of because we're operating in our legal person all the time. The thing is, you don't own the legal person. They do. They own it in a trust. There is a trust that owns everybody. You have a custodian. That's why when you go through bankruptcy, suddenly out of nowhere, a custodian or a trustee appears. And I actually had a family member call me and go, "Oh my gosh, you were not kidding. Like, I just went through bankruptcy and suddenly a trustee appears." And I started asking questions like, "Who are you? Trustee of what? What trust exactly?" And they started getting really nervous. So yes. So your legal person is not owned by you. So people that know that start on a journey to get basically what we call out of the matrix, and they start trying to take control of their securities. Like I said, Code of Federal Regulations 363.6, definition of minor. Look it up right now.
Hey,
363.
Carrie, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to be a semi-regular on this channel and talk about law, maritime law? Like, for example, this right here. Does
Yeah,
the
of course.
maritime law go on in other countries as well for courts?
It's global. You've been in the global system like your whole life. I love how people are like, "Oh, I'm not gonna take the mark of the beast." Right? We've all heard this. This is the mark of the beast, people. You can't buy, sell, or trade without it. Your social security number's in your head. You know it, and you write your signature with your right hand. Look up all the things that that thing describes, and tell me that your name and social and this legal person are not that. They absolutely are that. And what does it say? The whole world will be involved, right? The whole world will be deceived. So
Birth
we're
canal?
all in it.
Birth canal is the stock term at the harbors.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's the it's all maritime law. And
And they
uh
present the certificate of manifest at first, which is the birth certificate.
yes. And we did a whole show on this last year.
I
Micah,
know, but we have to keep refreshing it, Carrie.
I know because more people are waking up. You guys, when I got into this on tactical sovereignty on Facebook, tactical sovereignty administering the state with Brian Parker, who Micah's had on, he had maybe like 1,000 people, 1,100 people, I think, was in his group when I joined, and he archived it at like 15,000. There's estimations now. There's like over 1 million people in this movement now who are understanding what's happened, and basically they are doing what Brian Parker did. He made himself a DBA, which is exactly what all the presidents do. Okay, Barry Soetoro is Barack Obama. Donald Trump, D with a D with an F at the end, is Donald Trump. They use a DBA, doing business as their name in commerce, in business. And so there's a lot of people doing this. If you guys are interested, like there's some people that are really good with talking about, well, I don't want to get all into too many of them, but I'll try to post some of them in the chat. That they will kind of start walking you through if this is like new information to you. But you can actually take control of your security, which is your name. Okay, you can actually take control of that name, not the one necessarily they have with their social, but you can create your own. That's what they did with you. Your mother gave them that name, and then they created a duplicate of it, and put you on paper, and you
Mm-hmm.
think all of that is you, but it's not. It's your legal person. So I
Mm-hmm.
tell everyone it is possible to actually kind of walk away from the social security number and start your own through business credit. What is really cool about that is when your name becomes an S corp or an Inc or an LLC or a sole proprietorship, and you can actually, it's funny because you're still going to operate in commerce, right? Because you still got to eat, you still got to pay your bills unless you're going to go live off grid somewhere, which is not feasible for a lot of people. You can take control of it though, which is a little bit better than having them have control of it. And what I'm learning in my securities class, which is so fascinating, is when you take your bills and you put them in a trust and you put that in the post office, because the post office is governed by the UPU. It's its own bank. And your bills actually start going away. Like I just had someone in my group last week post that they put their T-Mobile bill in their trust, and then they put it in there, into the post office box, and now their T-Mobile bill is showing zero every month because it's all
So
credit. There is no money.
everybody here,
No credit.
everybody here is going to want to understand how this all works from
It's
start to
coming
finish.
out. I feel like it's gonna be so big soon. Everybody, listen, these
Well, that was
people
the other
are.
thing I was going to tell you about, because remember when we were all like, the government hired 87,000 IRS workers because they're going to come after all of us. You
Yeah.
said that it was because people are rescinding their fictional identity and they're auditing everything.
Yeah, people were sending in audits by the boxload since they were 18 years old because they want those credits back. That's what's happening is once you realize that everything is a credit, if you read and it's not like easy to read, but if you can't understand like legal terminology very well, which sometimes I cannot as well, I'll actually use ChatGPT and say, okay, write this like I'm a 16-year-old. I'm not getting it. And then if I still don't get it, I'm like, can you write it in a story for a 16-year-old? And then it'll give me I learned equitable subrogation that way. I was like, wait, I'm reading it, and then I'm like, okay, give me a story that describes equitable subrogation. And then I'm like, okay, because we should all be living on the equity side. That's like, okay. And please forgive if this isn't your belief. I'm not forcing beliefs on anybody, believe me. But it's kind of on the God side, right? Like the equitable side is like the spiritual side. Okay. And then the law and legal side is basically on the dead. We call it the dead entity. It's because it's not living. It's not you. It's just in contrast of the human being versus the legal fiction. Okay, that's why you see everything as a legal fiction. What is fiction? It's not true, right? It's made up. So yeah, this is. Oh wait, I want to see what Joyce has to say. I heard that dock workers are striking because all the crying. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll touch on that. So I'll finish this thought. Is if you're into this, yes, there's a lot of people out there teaching it and studying it, but honestly, I really encourage you to at least start, kind of looking at stuff by yourself. Bills of Exchange Act, Federal Reserve Act, Trust Indenture Act, the Securities Exchange Acts. Those are going to basically make your mouth go, because you're going to learn that every single bill is a bill of exchange. Exchange. So they're all like checks. Okay. So that's a whole other lesson for another day. But essentially, that's why I started taking securities classes, so that I can put on my studious glasses and learn how they're doing it. Okay, Joyce, and I don't know if you want to take this, but it was very interesting, Joyce, because yeah, we've been talking about this quite a bit. Heard that dock workers were still striking because of all the crying and screaming they heard within the containers. Of course, that's not on mainstream. Yeah, yeah. I actually asked my friend, I reached out to him this morning, and I asked him because he has a friend who's a longshoreman. And I know, Micah, you were in that, so I want you to speak to that as well. But he actually said, yes, it is like wildfire in that community right now. So I thought that was pretty interesting that they know, also. So maybe they're using this as leverage to get some more money. I don't know, but they definitely know. They definitely know.
Yeah. So let's see here. Hope they aren't charging for information. If they're telling the truth, why aren't they using the supposed interest in helping us out for nothing? Patriots for profit and people get nowhere.
Yeah, and that is the difficult part. I can see both sides of it. Like I said, I kind of take middle of the road on a lot of things because I understand from my perspective that I have just put in, close to 20 years of studying this stuff on this, on this level, which I really just got into securities, within the past like year or so. But if people want you to help, and I have personally helped some of my friends and family just with like the beginning stages of getting their letter from the Department of Homeland Security that states that you're not a US citizen. By the way, you'll be able to get one too. Everyone can get one if you actually send them. They're in charge of immigration and citizenship, by the way, and they actually, if you FOIA them, they have to send you back a letter. So I have helped them just through the beginning, like first 6 7 steps, and it consumed my life. Like I literally could do nothing else. So because I'm constantly fielding calls and emails about what we're doing, so it's difficult. It's like a full-time job. I think some of these teachers too, they take on the like so many people that they can't keep up, and then it's difficult for them, and then people are getting mad, and so again, it's like how many people can you feasibly help at one time? And then yes, if you're living off of that, but you got to understand, like, you could still, I get it, because some of them, they're like, well, yeah, but my mother doesn't know this, right? And I'm helping her, and right now I'm supporting her while I'm trying to get her down this road. So I don't ever know, excuse me, what people's motives are for charging or not charging. Like Brian Parker, he doesn't charge. I'm trying to think of other people. I know Brandon Joe Williams, he doesn't charge. But I just want to say, and this is no disrespect for him, I'm mad love for what he's doing, but he hasn't been in this that long. So when I first started listening to his recordings, I did see some things that I wasn't like, I'm like, oh no, that's not how that works. But again, you can't know everything all at once. And mad props to him for doing what he's done in 2 years. My thought is this: we're all on this same journey. So there's going to be different levels of knowledge on different topics. And so I don't knock any of them. Like, they should, in my opinion, I wish they would just have a big conference for themselves and talk through what they know, and then teach others, and people can come and learn from them. I think that would be amazing. But again, there's still costs to be had. You still have to pay for the hotel, you still have to pay for the venue that you're at. It's nothing's
Right.
for free, right? And then they're just going to pay for everybody to come, like, and then I don't know, you know what I mean? It gets a little dicey. I think until everybody knows and they're starting to let people through the floodgates, because they know too many people know now, I still think people are going to charge for their time. um there still needs to be an exchange. Okay, you cannot be balanced without an exchange of energy. That's just how I feel. Because as a person who's I was used to be very people pleaser, and I would always do and do and do, and then I realized, oh my gosh, like, I really don't want to do that, but it's my friend and they need help, and so I would go do it. And there was no exchange back to me ever. No, hey, let's go hang out, Carrie, let's go grab a meal, let's go have a coffee. Nothing. So then you start feeling like depleted, right? So I do feel in life there has to be a nice balance of energy exchange. If you want all these people to teach you for free, what are you doing for them?
There has to be an exchange.
Just a question.
There has to be an exchange. And I tell people all the time, I can't force you to do this, but I sell flash drives with all my work, including my 8 books, and I sell my books too. Um, those are ways to support me if people want to do it.
Yeah,
But
do
you
it.
know, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
have
like,
all the books.
yeah. So it's Secret Owl says they did the same thing to Bernie. Oh yeah, they did do it to Bernie. He bent over for them. They wanted Hillary Clinton, and people noticed that. And then when Trump came in, and he was just a big to the establishment, right? That's what he basically was. That's what people love about him, and the media can't stop it. So,
Yeah,
not that I
yeah.
wanted Bernie. No, Bernie would have taken us to communism. No, The RNC doesn't have super delegates, and Trump destroyed the RNC's grip because of the sheer numbers. There is a reason they are trying to take him out. I don't believe Trump is selected.
Oh,
what do you think
I'll
about
tell you
that?
exactly why they're trying to take him out, because this is in our community with, well, I mean, in like the people that are looking up the straw man and the securities community. Trump actually filed, and you can go look this up for yourself. I don't know the UCC number, but he actually filed a UCC to eliminate everyone's debt because he knows what's going on. So I don't care whether you like him or not, it's irrelevant. He actually was trying to do the right thing because he saw that it's all fraud. He saw what was happening. It is fraud. It's absolutely fraud. If you get I was going to say this earlier. If you get a forensic auditor, they're expensive. But again, look at what is the cost you're going to pay for that house or that car over the period of the loan. You can pay a forensic auditor. They start at about $1,500 to about $3,000, and they will do. I actually had one posted on my Facebook page. They'll do a forensic audit for you, and you can actually take that to court and say, where's my share? You used my name and my securities, my signature, and where's the money exchanged? And listen, I haven't heard of a person who lost yet. That mortgage goes to zero, and a lot of them will settle before you even get in court because they don't want that on their record. And they got to pay when it does go on their record, right? If it goes to court and it goes to the Securities Exchange Commission, then they get fined even more.
How did you have you seen this UCC or this UUC, whatever it is?
Yeah, it's all over the internet right now. Like, I'll see if I can find it and send it to you, Micah, so we can get the actual number so people can look it up. But I think
get me the information because I want to make a separate mini video on this. So if you can get me that information, Carrie, because you're amazing and you know where to look for everything.
A lot of stuff comes to me. You know what I mean? I don't find everything on my own. I don't take credit for stuff sometimes. Like, I didn't see that. I saw. So one of the people that I've learned a lot from Securities from is Paths to Freedom. It's at Paths, the number 2 FRDM 2022 on Instagram. Do not follow any other pages because it is not her, and there's a million of them out there. So it's at Paths, PATHS, number 2 FRDM 2022. She actually is the one who somebody sent it to her, and she posted it on one of her lives and was talking about it. And that was right after somebody found it, right after the assassination attempt. So again, I don't care what you think of him. If you told me that, I mean, I'd be kind of surprised that if like Kamala did it, I would, honestly. But if you told me, I'd be like, wow, okay, hold on, let's examine a little deeper, because that person obviously knows what's going on, is trying to basically give the American people a jubilee, which is forgiveness of all debts, because they know. And then look at what the state is. I mean, the state of the world, like, everybody owes so much money, and there's, so much depression over everything. And especially with the state of the economy right now, I don't know. I think it would be a pretty hefty boost to the economy if suddenly everyone's debts were lifted and they could, go and actually start over and have another chance,
Yeah, wow. Okay, so Jeep says, I have a video that explains how the Vatican holds the record of every birth for every human with a birth certificate for every incarnation here on Earth. I've heard that from Santos too, but I heard that the papal bulls that cover this are in their vault.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we would never, be able to know or verify, but I have heard of in that Savings the Suitors group years ago, there was a gentleman who actually wrote a letter to the Vatican and told them that he wanted to like rescind everything and the social security number. And they said, that's fine. You just can never use the social security number again. Now, why would the Vatican? That was the first thing that popped in my head. Now, why would the Vatican be telling him, okay, but you just can't use your social security number, right? Like, it's all connected, people. Like, it's crazy how connected everything is, and how connected, or how people just don't see it. That's kind of the fun part of all this treasure hunt, as we call it, is for me.
Okay. What do you make of this? Maritime, commercial law, and the policies, statutes, and codes are the beast system, aka Babylon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because in one of the old Bibles I used to have, it might have been Geneva or it might have been the maybe I had the 1611 on PDF, the actual 1611. The one you have today is not. And again, if I know I'm talking to a new audience, I have to remember that. I used to be very much like a Bible student, which is when I started seeing Micah's work and kind of connecting everything and Santos and everything to according to what I was studying. But yes, oh, you're welcome very much. Watermans, is that what it is? Yes, thank you. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you so much. Oh shoot, no, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, this is what happens in
We were
menopause. You
talking
start
about
talking
the
about
beast
something.
system, Babylon.
Oh yeah. So one of the old Bibles that I had, it actually was talking about Leviathan and the beast and the water, right? The water beast. And I was like, wow, because this is exactly what it is. It's the water, which is the maritime law, beast, the beast system. And it is. What does it say in the Bible? Who could war against the beast? Because you can't, because you keep feeding it money, you keep feeding it, you
Yeah.
keep playing into it. It's not going to stop until we stop playing into it, which is why the movement of people taking control of their own securities and their own name and putting their own name under trust. People are, I mean, I'm trademarking my name. I'm actually learning that process right now. So if your name is trademarked, they can't use it for anything because that's a trademark violation. You have to have my permission to use that name. So, there's a lot of things you can do, to kind of get out of it. And like I said, you can create a fake avatar. I don't want to say fake. It's because it is fake. It's a legal fiction. You can create your own fake avatar, your legal fiction in commerce under a trust that you control so that you can buy, sell, and trade. And that's the LLC, but you have to have that all under a trust and it cannot be a domestic trust.
Rosalind wants to know what your website is.
I don't even have one, Rosalind. I just come on here
I
with
just
Micah.
have Carrie on because she's one of my favorite people, and she's just an amazing person, and she's getting really really good at something that I find extraordinarily interesting that I discovered through Santos, when he started talking about uh, those papal bulls, and I want to have you on as a regular so that like when you do finally have your own website or your thing, everybody will just go over there.
Yeah, no,
If you want
I
to,
would love to.
if you want to share any social media right now, that's up to you.
Oh, well, so here's the reason I don't, the reason what's going on is number one, I've just learned so much in the past year. I kind of went a little bit ghost and I just, started studying. I'm like, all right, these are the things I'm going to get done. And I'm going to set this trust up properly. And I had previously had one, but then I started questioning like how I set it up. And so I literally just started going to the best of the best. And I spent my money to get consultations with people to make sure everything was correct. And eventually, yeah, I would, love to talk more on this and, maybe even teach people if I'm kind of called to do that. I do see how much work it is because once the floodgates open, right, they're going to come because everybody's like, well, how can I pay this? How can I do that? So the state that I'm in right now is I'm actually learning how to cash in one of those certificates. So that's why I've been kind of ghost and just, you know, nose to the grind, like, studying, reading the laws, everything, to try and see if I can do this. Because again, if I can cash in these certificates the right way, which basically it's nothing more than a deposit, but you have to set your accounts up the right way, taking control of your securities to make them see that you are an adult, a age of majority, because you're not. This is the government's words, not mine. You are not considered a age of majority until you take control of your securities accounts. Let me repeat that again. You are not of the age of majority, which is why you can't vote. You're not the age of majority until you take control of the securities accounts. Code of Federal Regulations 363 and definition of minor 363.6. That's them. They're telling you, and that's, you start doing the wordplay, right? Like, what do they call it in the military? Infantry, right? Like everything's showing you in the wordplay that you're the baby. You're just the one that needs cared for, in care of at your address. when you write in care of on your postal letters and things like that. So they're trying to show you, you just haven't picked up on it. It's all what they say, hidden in plain sight. So eventually, yes, if I'm able to do what I want to do and properly cash these certificates in the right way, then yes, I will have way more time open to just kind of help people get through these things. But as you know, there's a lot of hurting people, especially with all these disasters going on. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how many people are going to wake up to the fact in Florida and everywhere else that most of these contracts don't include storm surge. I live in Florida. I know this is one of the first things I look for. They don't include storm surges. So there's going to be so many people that are like paying a mortgage on a house that's stuck in 8 feet of mud.
Mm-hmm.
What do? They're going to want to be getting out of this mortgage. And then I go, well, is this more giant land grabs? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. My brain goes there, and I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't. I sound
Carrie,
so
two questions for
negative.
you. What security class?
The securities classes that I'm taking are through Paths to Freedom. She charges about $100 a month, and then she has like special classes on like trust and things like that are an additional cost on that. But it's an education that you'll never regret spending it. This is the stuff we should have been taught in college. So I consider this like my second college education, really, if I were to go back and get my doctorate, which I always wanted to do, but never did. So basically, if I were you, if you go on her YouTube is just Paths to Freedom. Let me double check that while I'm on here, but it's Paths to Freedom, no 2022. And she has a ton of free, so much free. Start there. And her ebooks, you can start there. And I wouldn't recommend getting into the classes until you've got the foundation started, because if you don't have the foundation, the other stuff's not going to make sense. So start there. It's free. She has ebooks. She has sales all the time. Her nephew is at Ignorance Be Gone on Instagram, and on his link in his bio are all their ebooks. There's a book that literally step by step will show you how to get out of the system. And I think it's like under $100. This thing is worth gold. And you just start going down the processes. That's one way. Brian Parker also has free videos on his site. Like he has one on the DBA. He's got so many. I've been watching his stuff for years. So I kind of study, gather my information, watch the people I trust, and go read the laws. And it takes me sometimes 6 months before I make a move. It does. This security thing I've been studying for the last year. So, Joyce, I heard that by taking back the ports, we're going back to the law of the land rather than the law of water. That could very well be, because again, it's
Can
all.
I ask you guys a question though, Joyce and Carrie? What do you mean by taking back the ports? Because it's still the same mafia-attached gangster running it in his $5 million house and his Bentley and all that, right? It's still corrupt at the top.
I'm sure Joyce has a different opinion, but let me ask you this: if you're shipping kids in containers, and the world is about to find this out, how many of those people are either gonna disappear, take their own lives, run for the hills, you name it? I think a lot of these industries are going to either crumble, dissipate, be sold, what have you. I think we are, again, about to start Red October here from now. And Priscilla has the same thing. I really wish she could be on here at the same time, because she can tell us what's going on astrologically with all of that, because she sees it, and we have a lot of discussions on it. From now, she's saying like from now till like next spring is really going to get, we say bumpy, but it's really just the crumbling of it. But as I said, what was it the other day I was on, or yesterday, I can't remember, 2 days ago, I said this: I will do anything. I will be broke, poor, not knowing how to get food, whatever the case may be, so that one more kid doesn't have to get hurt. I really will. I don't care that the system is about to go down. It has to. It absolutely has to. It cannot continue like this. This is like the saddest thing we've ever heard. And we cannot.
You have to be careful and know what you are doing. They will destroy you. I've seen many people go down this road for over 30 years. Just make sure you understand what Carrie is talking about.
Yeah, they will. That's why it takes me, a year to make one move. And I pay people. I am happy to pay people that know more than I do. I am not an expert on it by any means. That's why I don't teach it. I know about it. Been studying it a long time, but it does take a long time to undo all of the, learning that we have, to unschool yourself from what we have been taught how the system operates. It's not that at all. So sometimes it's hard to wrap your brain around it, because you're like, wait, this bill that I'm getting from the gas or the electric or the water every month is an exchange. It's something exchangeable. You're like,
It's a
what is that?
coupon.
It's a what?
It's a coupon.
It is a coupon. Yeah, and it's a coupon that can be converted into a check. And like a long time ago, there was audios. They took them all down, of course. I remember, I should have recorded them. I remember listening when I first got into it, of this guy who used to call the IRS and ask questions about it. And finally, like after a half an hour on the phone, he finally gets someone on the phone that knows and tells him the process very vaguely, albeit very vaguely, but he does tell them this process. So I think it's just going to be a lot of unlearning. I think that people on the lower levels of these agencies, they don't know. They don't know, just like we don't. They have no idea. So I think this is going to be a big unlearning. Secret out interest and taxes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Interest and taxes are mostly evil. They are skimming so the overall population can never get ahead.
Yeah, absolutely they are. Yeah. I mean, you've heard them say taxes are voluntary. You've heard them say this. And it is. It truly is. I can attest to that. The issue is, again, doing it right. You've contracted with them. Everything in law is contract and acceptance. So if you've accepted that, you've signed these documents, like the W forms when you get hired. You've contracted with them, so now they're going to uphold the contract. So
A
just
citizen is a slave in the corporate world. They pay the taxes. A citizen is impossible for a living people. Corporation is a corrupt version of you.
100%.
Susie, will you email me, please? Because if you're not going to, I know you're shy, you don't want to come on here, but I love your comments every time you make one. I don't always agree with all of them, but if you could email me at intotherabbitholeseries@gmail.com so we can talk, I'd appreciate it. Anyway, so Carrie, what were you saying about this?
Citizen, if you look up, remember Santos, our friend, teaching us how to break down these words, and you as well.
What is it, Black's Law Dictionary?
No, this has nothing. This is Latin. So citizen, the word, if you break it down, situs is where property sits. It's cite, CITE, and that's why we cite things in law, okay? Or we SITE them, which is a placement for something maybe tangible like a house, and then we cite, CITE, the law. And so, I'm sorry, Mike is sending me the comments. Very cute. We love you guys too, big time. I just love the community that loves to learn. Like, if you're still here, like, kudos to you, because you want to know.
Would love to get that information, please. See, Carrie, the second you decide to start doing something, I'm going to have you live, and all these people are going to run to you. I'm telling you.
And I'll be like, oh my gosh. Yeah. That's why, again, I don't do anything before I, know, and I've done it, because it's hairy. But anyway, citizen, let's just talk about that word for a minute. So citizen comes from the situs, SITUS, okay, in the Latin. And that means the where property sits. So situs in, okay, where it's in Latin, en, ship. Situs in ship. What were we just talking about? Maritime law. You placed yourself on the ship, on the sea. You placed yourself there, okay, by calling yourself that, by voluntarily saying that. And these are the things that we weren't taught, and it's scary.
What about if you call yourself a person?
Yeah, the person is the same thing, right? You have, well, what they call the natural person and the legal person, but oh my gosh, my battery's about to die. But the person is, yeah, it's a legal definition. Individual, person, all these things that we read and go, yes, I'm an individual, yes, I'm a person. That's basically you're putting yourself in that jurisdiction. And jurisdiction, that word is the same thing. It's basically whatever I say. Juris, which is the location or the space. Diction, whatever I say it is. Meaning I can say this is the Florida Georgia line. There's no actual line there. I'm telling you it's there. It's on a map, right? Or whatever. Somebody said it was there, so it's there. That's what jurisdiction means when you look it up in the etymology. So these words have meaning, and the wordplay is what's kicking our butts, to be honest. So
Banks
citizens,
can't exchange anything. They produce nothing and only take. Well, that's not
yeah,
true. They give your money away because I think they don't even have to. Do you remember how they had to keep? What was it at one point? They had to keep, like, if someone put in $2,000, then they were allowed to send it out as long as they kept like 1/10 of it or
10%.
something. 10%, right?
10%. So the reason you always hear Grant Cardone saying 10x, 10x, that's how much the banks are able to make off of everything you put in. It's 10x. So yeah, it's like they made themselves an ATM. Basically, whatever you put in, they get 10x or more back, right, from the securities, like the mortgage notes and the car notes and things like that. So what they do is when you sign that car note, they basically take them and put them in a bundle or house note, whatever. And it's a promissory note. That's why it's called a note. A note means promissory note. Bill means bill of exchange. So they take these securities and they bundle them and they sell them out. So say they take, and I don't know what the number is, I'm just going to make this up, 20 new houses. And they securitize those and then they make them a security and trade them in a bundle. And then people will, invest in them and then they make money. And I actually posted this on my Facebook page, Micah. You can go back about 5 or 6 posts, maybe 7 posts. And it shows the forensic company, it shows the Bloomberg terminal to prove, and it shows that Ginnie Mae and Wells Fargo, they made $518 million off of one house. This is what I learned in my securities class, which is why I'm taking it. $518 million off of one house from 2011 to 2019, and the securities did not fully mature until 2053.
Wow.
2053. Yeah. And I have all the evidence right on my
Talk
Facebook
to
page.
me real quick. First of all, I have to draw attention to BC17Q. This is a religious dude who is my grumpy cat. He just hates everything that I do, but he's been following me for 4 years, and he hates what I do, and he doesn't agree with anything, but he still follows me.
Okay, BC. Well, first of all, I send you much love, my friend. Much love. If you're big into the Bible, what I can definitely tell you is start looking at it from financial transactions perspective. It may kind of give you some insight because most of the stuff that I actually learned was from the Bible. So yeah, it's just it's a multiple layer book. The reason I started kind of looking at different things was because when I went from the initial Bibles, this is just my personal story. I'm not trying to sway you either way. I hope, I don't really care. And to be honest, you do you, boo. But I just started reading and researching. I studied the Bible more than probably, I would say probably close to between 12 and 20,000 hours is what I estimated. Learned 3 different languages to study it in, and like literally Koine Greek. I was looking at Aramaic. I was reading the Hebrew. I learned Hebrew, how to write Hebrew, so I could actually say, does this word actually mean what they translated it? Because some of the translations weren't making sense to me. So I went really, really deep for many, many years. My family can attest. I would literally sit there for sometimes 6 hours a day just studying on my days off. So I really delved deep into it, and I started seeing multiple layers on it. So then I started going backwards. I'm like, well, okay, well, who put this together? Council of Nicene. Um, you know, who paid the Council of Nicene to put this together? Then it took me back to the Geneva Bible. Then it took me back to older Bibles, and I was finding that between each versions of these Bibles, there was about 20 to 40,000 different changes in each one, which was overwhelming. I wish I had AI back then to do comparisons. In fact, that gives me an idea. But anyway, to see
Jordan
those
Maxwell,
changes.
Jordan Maxwell was always very fond of the companion Bible.
Yeah, the companion Bible. I used a lot of stuff, Strong's Concordances. I used all of that, which is kind of how I discovered L, and that there were two different God references in the Old Testament. Like, I went deep, y'all. When I say I went deep, there were moments where I was just crying because, like, I was like, whoa, like, this is so crazy. Like, nobody knows this. Nobody knows. And we talked about this the other day that, they changed from the Geneva Bible to the 1611, which most of you couldn't even understand the 1611 if you actually had an actual 1611 King James version, who was gay, by the way, which I thought was interesting since,
He was
most
also a
Christians don't.
demonologist.
Yeah, he wrote Demonology. I read that book too. And it's not what you think. So, those of you that are like, oh, she read Demonology, go look at it. It's not what you think. It's not like how to conjure or anything like that. It's basically a study of kind of like angelology and things like that, which I guess all angels were called daemons at one time, from what my studies have shown me. But I stumbled upon Mauro Biglino probably about 15 years ago, and that changed the trajectory of my studies because he was actually putting out the original translations that were in the Vatican vault. He was actually hired by the Vatican, and then when they found out that he was putting stuff out there for people to discuss, right, in circles, he was fired. But he still has a lot of great videos out there. So my journey through there was actually very interesting. It actually led me to this. And there's a huge financial layer in there in the Bible of all this stuff. So, like, the way I connected it with Micah's work is that Micah was showing the astrotheology side. Now, as a Christian, I would have been like, okay, I have to stay away from crystals. I have to stay away from astrotheology. I have to stay away from all that stuff because that's what my pastor told me. But then I was like, well, in Levi, they had the breastplate, which protected the priests, and it had all the gemstones in it. And then Revelation, of course, had all the gemstones in it. And then there was this whole thing on Job, and he was talking about who created the stars in the sky and who. So I started going, okay, when he started putting his work out there of the astrotheology side, the reason I started connecting it was because I had seen some translations where they were actually talking about those things, and I'm like, whoa. So I asked Michael one time, I said, what do you think it all means? And he said, I think it is overall, what do you think? Why would they do this? Like, what do you think it all means? And he said, I think it's like a farmer's almanac. And I really had to like chew on that for a few days. Like, what? Then I connected it. The Bible is talking about cycles. Micah's work is talking about cycles. The banking world runs off of market cycles. Market is merchantry. Everything in the Bible is about merchantry. When the story of Jesus and he goes in and turns over the tables, he's talking about money.
We have about a 12,000 year cycle until the next reset, and then the next people come out.
Yeah. And so it just all connected. I'm like, oh my gosh, it is. It's basically like a farmer's almanac. What does it do? It tells you the cycles of how the harvest works, right? Like, because that's what people go on, is the farmer, and he watches the patterns of everything in order to determine the cycles. When is the harvest? When do we sell to the people? So there's this whole onion layer of the financial in the Bible, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so that's kind of how I came upon this. So I don't.
You would also it would benefit you too, just because of everything that you just said, to read the Code of Hammurabi too.
Yeah, I think I sat through your decoding of that. So, read per se and through your but yeah, and they're all, I think once you go into that history, like I said, you can't unsee what the Flavian dynasty did with the Council of Nicene. You can't unsee it. I cannot unsee that. Like, you can't change me on it because I read it for myself. I did a 6-month dive on the Flavian dynasty, Justinian, all of these people that supposedly corroborated the Bible, and they were like Josephus. He was actually Flavian's nephew. They were all in the same family. Like, you can't unsee it when you see it. So then I'm like, all right, could it be? This is kind of where I'm at today. Don't take my thing. Do your own research. Figure yourself out for yourself. My whole thing is, I feel like it's a collection of stories and books. So, for example, like John of Patmos, right? He was banished to Patmos, and I think now he actually had a spiritual experience of the 33rd with the Christos oil. You tell me 300 some years later, if you've never had a spiritual experience, you cannot put it into words. It is the most profound thing you can experience, and you cannot put it into words. So to tell me that an author can come around 300 years later and speak in the colloquialisms, which are like the street Greek or the street language of your time, and put into words what this man saw and experienced, no. Like it's impossible. I can't even describe the visions I had. I had cancer. I fasted days in order to heal, and I had spiritual experiences. I'll just leave it at that. But I dreamt of things that I would have no idea what they were, like toroidal fields. Like I understood how energy moved around a toroidal field. Mm-hmm. I had to get up in the middle of the night and look it up because I had no idea what I just saw. I'm like, it's like this donut, and the energies are moving around, and I'm typing the stuff in like energies moving around the earth in the shape of a donut, you know. So again, each person's on their own journey, and so I'm just glad people look into this and see, because once you start, you know, if you want to know and you look and you uncover, you know, I'm not saying the book is good or bad or anything. I'm saying, wow, it's a lot of really interesting information in there, as all books are. All books have, you know, something to kind of offer us in the form of gaining that knowledge level, you know, taking our wisdom to a different place. And so I encourage you, because the whole reason I started looking into the taxes in the first place was I got the letter from the IRS, which was all a mistake. I have a whole podcast on this with Micah, Jonah and the whale. Mike, I'm talking Bible stories now. I had this whole thing on this with Micah because I did a whole show on it, because one verse popped into my head. Settle your affairs with the magistrate, the magi of the straits, the waterways. Settle your affairs with the magistrate quickly, lest he turn you over the bailiff and throw you into jail. And I'm like, well, I better settle this directly with the magistrate, with the judge. So I did. Never had to step foot into court. It all went through with letters into U.S. court. So again, people don't know you can directly mail judges registered mail. You can. Sometimes you'll get settled before you even go in that way. So, you know, there's other ways to do it. That's why that verse is there. So there's a whole legal layer as well. So my vision was shown the legal layer and the financial banking layer. Okay. The money changers, right? Like they're trying to tell you what's happening and why the like Jesus never, in the story, why he never would go along with, you know, the government. It's the same thing. It's the same thing we're experiencing right now, which is so fascinating to me. So it's a cycle. Your Farmer's Almanac is coming cyclical. That's why I look at what Priscilla's doing, because I'm like, okay, who created the stars? And the mathematical precisions of everything. You can't tell me that's not a greater intelligence. Well, you can tell me that. I'll respect your opinion.
What people have hard issue separating is the biblical God versus an actual creator and what that actually entails. And then the people that do go, ugh, this church isn't for me. I don't believe this stuff, become atheists. And that's stupid too, because they run away from it. And that's dumb too. They meet in the middle. They do. So anyway, see what Al said.
It's all connected. I don't discard any of it, because it's really all connected. And I think once people see that, if we, you know, it's like we talked about last year with the Celestine prophecies, if people would actually sit down and share what they know and then have an open mind about it, like we actually might learn a little bit more than we think we know. Because I know if somebody would have told me this, you know, 30 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I don't know. I can't talk to Micah. You know, my pastor would roll over in his, you know, grave. Like, you know,
many such cases.
We need to set some of those things down and say, okay, I don't know everything. None of us know everything. We do not know everything. But with the help of quantum physics, I think this great intelligence, God, whatever you want to call it or identify with, no judgment, I think it's trying to send information in. And I really, this is going to sound kind of maybe a little woo woo, as if we haven't had already woo woo enough. I really think that these solar flares, especially the one that's hitting right now, there's one coming, like, I think it's either today or tomorrow. It's supposed to touch Earth. We're seeing unprecedented solar flares hitting the Earth since the spring. Unprecedented, if you're unaware of that. And I really believe, because the sun is our life force, and it is, you know, if you read the book of Enoch, it says that it has a consciousness and its sources of information. So could it be that the sun is actually sending us this information, and that we're kind of opening, you know, our eyes to all this stuff going on, and that's
It's
why
the
the world,
plasma. It's the plasma. That's what the ancients knew.
the plasma.
That's what Akhenaten knew when he made everybody worship the sun. The plasma energy. He knew. They all knew.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just that the problem is that the last sun god, people can't seem to get a grip on it.
yeah, it's and then it's related. You know, you guys seen the symbolisms of the sun and the SON and the SUN. And again, I don't think that's the worshiping factor by any means, but I think that the sun is a carrier of information. I absolutely do. I mean, if trees can have a network like the internet, what do you think the sun, the life force of the flipping planet, can do? I mean, it's just common sense to me. Like, if the trees, you know, like, again, there's so many studies on the plants. Watch The Secret Life of Plants. Oh my gosh, it'll blow your mind. Plants can identify assailants. Okay, they can identify assailants. So there's this whole thing going on around us in the ether that we are just don't talk about, don't look at very much. And I really believe that this is kind of the shaking time, and you know, shaking the bad fruit out of the tree, if you will, right now. And I think it's exciting. I'm not scared about it. I'm actually, I know it's going to be difficult, but I'm still kind of in a weird way looking forward to it. And again, I say weird way because I know what the end outcome is. No more children getting hurt. Can't do it, man. Oh, I'm gonna get choked up talking about it. I can't. Like, I cannot. And if you have been involved in sexual abuse, you know, I have, and so has my family, and it is very near and dear to our hearts. And I hear these stories, and my heart just wrenches. And I have gone there where I have looked at stuff on the dark web, and let me tell you, there's no way you can, unless somebody's out there doing some sick AI stuff and putting videos out there, like, you can't make this stuff up. It is so deep and so dark, and the entire world is going to be shaken by this. And I really feel that we're entering into it. And if I suddenly disappear, it's my phone dying. Everybody, I'm so sorry. My charger's inside.
Okay. So Secret Alice says, Micah, can you put a link here in the chat that I can hit to purchase the thumb drive? Email me at intotherabbitholeseries@gmail.com, Secret Owl, please. I don't have a setup like that. I deal individually directly, because you're gonna have to send me your address, and we'll do like a PayPal or something, whatever it is. But email me.
Yeah, or like that, support him. I know he doesn't say this enough, but his books are phenomenal. So yeah, you'll see a lot of this cool stuff in there. So if you haven't picked him up, grab, you know, a book and support him that way. I don't get anything out of this from just hanging out with Mike. I just feel like he looks at things differently, like I do, and a lot of the people that he has on just blow my mind. So thank you for the work you're doing, Micah. I don't know if you hear that enough. I mean, you're really amazing with what you've put together. I mean, this is like next level with the astrotheology level, and you cannot deny it. Like, it's in your face. It's right there. So like I say, I encourage people to start connecting your own dots and go, what is this all for? Like, what is the bigger picture? And I would literally, like, I used to pray on that. I'd be like, all right, God, please give me the information, give me the wisdom. Every single day I would pray this, like, give me the information, give me the wisdom. And a lot of times it's overwhelming, and I've cried, and I've been like, wow, what did I choose to get into this life for? It's a lot. But at the same time, like I said, you know, maybe it is an experience we're choosing, and can have a little bit of, a part in making this big change by just knowing, by helping other people understand what's happening, and opening your eyes to what is truly happening there.
All right. Great guess, Michael. Let's do this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah,
A
if you
lot of
guys,
people, I'm not going to put them all up, but not a lot of people, like 2 or 3 people said that this sovereign citizen thing. I guess they've just never seen it done. You guys, Carrie discharged how much was it?
$7,000. It was 7,000 and change, whatever it was, from Chase. I've been successful in doing that. Plus, like a $600 medical bill and a $1,900 medical bill. All your bills are prepaid. If you read the the Federal Reserve Act and the Bills of Exchange Act. And again, don't go out there doing this before you put your time in studying. It is not for the faint of heart. It's understanding. It's learning how to write letters. It's learning how to research and finding who these indentured trustees are and who these CFOs are. It's not something you can just kind of quickly do overnight. It's a process. It's learning. So that's why I don't teach it, and I don't really have too many people doing it. Like, in other words, I'm not even doing it that much with my own family. I'm experimenting myself first, because even if you do it, if you did something wrong, then can you get yourself back out of it? And you have to have that knowledge in order to do it. But we'll get there. We'll all get there. I firmly believe this movement is blowing up. It's a lot on TikTok on it, because obviously with YouTube, trying not to get this information out, and some of the U.S. companies, there's a lot of it on TikTok. Although I did recently hear that TikTok is actually owned by the U.S., and I'm like, whoa, wait. So I don't know if anybody has any information on that. Let us know. I have not looked into this yet. I just heard this yesterday.
I heard that that by the ports being closed is because we lost the War of 1812. The Americans lost the U.S. American ports, and after the war, the American public went dormant.
Yes, that is actually the right timing, Joyce. I could do a whole show on just the War of 1812, the Native Americans, all of that, the start of the Trail of Tears, and how it went into the national anthem. Because if you read the third verse of the national anthem, that'll kind of clue you in on what they were talking about, what happened. It's a very good story. That would be a really great episode to go into, is that whole history, because it is absolutely fascinating. And yes, Francis Scott Key, who penned the poem, the national anthem, his family actually were one of the largest slave trade owners. So they basically were rejoicing that they had won the war, because otherwise they would have lost control of the waterways. And that's what it was all about. Because if you trace where it went all the way down into the Great Lakes and into Detroit, and that's kind of like where it started, and then kind of moved back east. So that's a very fascinating war. And all of this stuff, all the maritime, goes back to the East West India Company and the War of 1812. So Joyce, kudos to you for doing your homework and knowing that, because that is the key to knowing all of this history and why it aligns this way, is that time period.
The ports are open. They agreed to a salary increase.
Yeah, a lot of them. I just heard a little bit ago they were saying it was, a lot due to, like, they knew how devastating it would be to the people that were already just hard hit from the hurricane. So interesting. I don't know. I still think it's all connected, but that's just me.
All right, so let's see what else we got. We're almost there.
I know I should grab my charger, because I'm gonna lose my battery here in a second. Oh wait, is there one here? I thought I took it out.
What is this right here?
Is it fair to say we're a commodity traded on the Chicago Board of? I think that's supposed to be Board of Trade. I am not super familiar. Sorry about that, guys. With the Chicago Board of Trade, I'm going to be honest. I'm not super familiar with that. And but we are all traded. Yes. It's I don't know if you were here for that part, but it's on the GMEI utility platform, to my knowledge. That's always what I have found to be. Now, if there are others, I am not aware of them, and there maybe are. I don't know. That's just the one particular one that I found and could kind of verify.
Micah decoded the Bible for me, made perfect sense to me. Thank you. But it's just one layer. I mean, like,
Yeah.
we're talking, it's just one layer. But for some reason, it goes through 6,000 years worth of holy text. I don't know why.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people. Oh my gosh, I have 2 chargers and I try to plug both of them in and neither one of them are charging and I don't know why. So anyway, I might lose y'all. But oh my gosh. I'm having technical problems today. My magnet just came off of my car thing there. So anyway, I'll probably have to get off here and plug in and everything because I'm literally got like one little sliver left of battery. But yeah, as far as like the trading goes, I'll have to look at what I have not. The Chicago Board of Trade. I'm trying to think of what that would even entail. But to my knowledge, okay, because we are all under a trust that is basically managed by the government, that is under the government. So if it was under like a specific Chicago one, I'm not sure what was something that like I don't know.
You're cutting off, girl. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Enki is proud of Micah. Sure. Up there she goes. All right, guys. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're going to go do something. See you tomorrow. I'll probably be on tomorrow around 12:30.